This is the DeLozier Show, and you're listening to the final episode of Season 1, The Murder of Linda Madison, and I'm your host, Ryan DeLozier. Before we begin, a content warning. This episode includes discussions of suicide, pregnancy, domestic violence, and murder. If you or someone you know needs support, help is available by dialing 988 for mental health and suicide crises, or by calling 1-800-799-SAFE for domestic violence support. You can also text START to 88788. In our last episode, we explored the trial and conviction of Joseph William Brooks, his shifting story, the letters, the verdict. We covered it all. Today, we close the chapter, we wrap it up, but not before we revisit what came after the appeals, the escape, the echoes that still linger. After Joe Brooks was convicted of first-degree murder in April 1975, Judge Bruce Hanson sentenced him to life in prison. In Washington state, at that time, a life sentence carried a minimum term of 20 years. With good behavior, parole eligibility could come as early as 12 to 15 years. But Joe and his attorneys were not done. Just days after sentencing, they filed a motion for a new trial, citing 11 reasons from errors in how evidence was presented to claims of misconduct during closing arguments. The court denied the motion. Then came the appeal. Joe was transferred from Yakima County Jail to the Washington State Corrections Center in Shelton, Washington. He was no longer a teenager awaiting trial. He was now a convicted killer. And for a brief moment in December 1975, Joe Brooks was also a fugitive. On December 18, 1975, Joe Brooks escaped from the minimum security section of the Shelton prison. In a story made for Hollywood, he left behind a dummy in his bed, fooling the guards. It was a move that shocked prison officials and law enforcement alike. Joe had been described as quiet, remorseful, and not a flight risk. But now, with his appeal pending, he vanished. Authorities launched a statewide manhunt, and 5 days later, on December 23rd, sheriff's detectives found Joe in Yakima. He was arrested at gunpoint as he exited a home on West Meade Avenue, not far from the house where he had previously been convicted of killing Linda. There was no resistance, no statement, just silence. Brooks was returned to Yakima County Jail, then later remanded back to the state prison under heightened security. A day before his recapture, the Washington State Court of Appeals denied his appeal and upheld the conviction. The law had spoken, and it was final. Linda Madison was 18. She never got to choose what came next. Not for her pregnancy, not for her relationships, not for her future. Her life ended in silence, in the dark, while her friends slept nearby. And even after decades, her name still doesn't appear in most records unless it's attached to his, to Joe Brooks, to the boy who said he loved her, the boy who pulled the trigger. But Linda mattered. She was more than a victim. She was a person, a daughter, a friend, and for those who knew her, and even for those learning about her now, her story is not forgotten. There are still questions. Could the system have done more to protect her? Should there have been earlier intervention? And what does it say about justice when the voice of the victim fades beneath the shadow of the perpetrator? We don't have all the answers, but we will still continue to ask these questions. Because justice isn't about a courtroom. It's about memory and how we remember Linda and others like her. This matters. As we close out this season of The DeLozier Show, I want to thank you for taking this journey, for listening not just to a true crime story, but to a story about people, about loss, and about choices. Linda Lee Madison. Let her not be remembered just for how she died, but for the way that life was taken. Thank you for listening. The DeLozier Show is written, produced, edited. I do all this stuff with my MacBook and my Pile Pro sound mixer. It's all right here in front of me. Yep, I do this all. I want to do a special thanks as well to the Yakima Valley Libraries who helped me find these documents from the Yakima Herald in the 1975 microfilm. For more episodes, bonus content, future updates, follow The DeLozier Show. You can find this on anywhere you can find your podcasts. Find your favorite app, your favorite platform, whichever one you use. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and always say the names of those who matter. If you or someone you know is in crisis, help is available. For mental health or suicide support, call or text 988 anytime. For domestic violence help, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. You can also text START, START, to 88788. You are not alone.